Hey everybody, all of my friends in Alberta Ag societies all across the province. Sure was a pleasure to hang out with you in Lethbridge the other day, the weekend. Hope everybody got home safe and traveled safe. It is always a pleasure to hang out with you. I love being with you because number one, you're people that make a difference. You're people who are committed and dedicated to not only the ag societies, but you're committed to your community. In a nutshell, you're irrationally passionate. You're irrationally passionate about the thing that you are so committed to. And I love people who are irrationally passionate. I don't even care what it is they're irrationally passionate about. I just love being around people who are irrationally passionate. And that's you. So thank you for inviting me. Now, over the next few weeks, we're going to sit and chat like this on Wednesdays. We'll unpack to a greater degree the things that we talked about the next morning when we talked about this whole idea of fund development, resource development, people development. How do I get people to give me some of their time, talent, and treasure? Over the next 6 weeks, we'll unpack that to a greater degree. But today, I want to focus on this irrational passion and ask you, is your irrational passion serving you well? Is it serving you well? Is that energy and enthusiasm and excitement that you have or had for this thing called ag, is it still serving you well? Or have you stayed and quit? Stayed and quit. Quit and stayed. Have you quit and stayed? Have you come to the beyond your effectiveness? Have you come to the end of that? Are you a little jaded? Are you a little burned out? Are you a little stuck in your ways? Has that irrational passion turned into being a curmudgeon and cranky and burnt out and angry? I included in this email a little handout on burnout and some tips on burnout if that's you. But remember what I talked about in our time together. I said that if we're going to take and utilize that irrational passion effectively, then we have to be outcome-based and impact-focused so that we remember why, the why behind the matter. Why are you in this? Is it just to be the chairperson, the president? Is it just to be a person of prominence? Or was it a mission and a purpose? And does it have meaning and value to you? If you're not connected to that, get connected to that. If you've become disconnected from that, get reconnected to that. Why are you doing this? I challenge you over the next few days. Why? And then take that internal why and translate it into some specific outcomes. And being able to articulate the impact of not only your involvement, but the impact of your organization. That doesn't just serve you well when it talks to you personally being sustainable, but it serves you well when it comes to fundraising and recruiting volunteers and the like. So you might as well do the exercise as it relates to you. Then we talked about establishing some kind of monument as a reminder to that why. And I talked to you about the one that's on my wrist that reminds me of why I need to get up in the morning and why I do what I do. So I try to stay away from the fog that a position of prominence can create. See, when you're in a position of prominence like you are as an executive board leader, a board member, or a president, it's easy to get caught up in the fog of prominence. And you have to be reminded, some kind of monument to remind you of the why. And I would suggest that that monument be something that you can take with you, something you put in a place of, that you see all the time, a place of prominence, to remind you. Remember that in society, monuments were strategically placed and intentionally utilized for a purpose. Same is true with this kind of monument. The irrational passion, that thing, that burning fire, is an especially special ingredient and key ingredient if you're in a position of leadership. But there's a double-edged sword here. There is an other side of it where it becomes detrimental to your family, it becomes detrimental to those around you, and it becomes detrimental to you personally. Is your irrational passion serving you well? All right, next week, when I join you on Wednesday, we're going to really start to drill into some of the concepts that we talked about when we talked about marshaling human capital, when we talked about tapping into people's time, talent, and treasure, when we talked about raising and developing funds and resources, or recruiting and retaining volunteers. We'll get pretty tangible starting next Wednesday. But for now, you think about this irrational passion, and is it serving you well? Have a great week. Take care, everybody.